Hey, it's Vanessa, and welcome back to Born to Build the New. Today we've got a bonus episode for you, and it's about being caught between worlds. And I felt an inner tug in my own system this morning to create this episode because of the larger energies that are moving through this week that will specifically impact you if you are born to build the new. And given that that is the name of this podcast and that's who I serve, I couldn't ignore that call. I couldn't pretend that these energies weren't real and they weren't loud and that I didn't have things to say about them, because I do. And I am also experiencing them quite profoundly. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk about the energies at play right now and how they are really amplifying the feeling of being caught between worlds and what we can do about it. Because the energy this week isn't asking you to stay in the in-between. It's asking you to choose. It's very in line with the Aries energy right now, which is like decide and move with it. But we're going to get into all those details in just a moment. First, as always, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Vanessa Smith, your host, energy guide, and identity seer. And I'm here to talk about the paradigm shift and your larger role within creating and shaping what comes next. For those of us that are born to build the new, we have a different kind of coding or wiring in our system where we feel called and driven to use our gifts to build what comes next. It may show up as a seed, as a full vision, as just simply an impulse to participate in what could be different, what could be better, what could be new. And that's what we talk about here on Born to Build the New, among other things, but how to best work with the energy at play, how to lock in the version of yourself that's here to lead that calling, and how to really know what's up energetically, even with yourself, as well as the larger energies at play. Know your own identity and really move through the world in an aligned kind of way. That's what sets the stage for you to be able to build the new. So with that being said, let's jump in and talk about this concept of caught between worlds and how this week is asking you to choose. So when it comes to being between worlds, it affects those born to build the new in a much more amplified way. They feel it more acutely in their system. And the reason is because we don't fit into the old. We are well aware that the old system, the old world is dying. The systems and the structures are breaking down. Things are falling apart. I mean, we see evidence of this. And at the same time, we know that we're here to build the new, whatever that looks like and whatever role we specifically play within that. And because of that, when there is this kind of energy where we feel caught between the worlds, but we know that it's time to make a move, it's time to choose a direction, it can be more amplified for us because we're more aware of what's happening collectively and we're more driven by our own unique individual role within that larger unfolding that's going on right now. It's just a bit tricky because we are building the bridge between these worlds while we're also trying to cross the bridge, which is a little, like I said, so it can be quite tricky to do that, right? You need a solid foundation. And yet that's the role, the new gets built through us, but we are still crossing over from the old world, and we need to embody not just the role of building the new, but also the role of being the bridge for ourselves and also for other people. But this week in particular, there are collective energy themes that are taking place that are helping us to choose direction. And as I speak that now, it's making me think I want to change the title of this instead of Caught Between Worlds to something around choosing, because that's really what's at the heart of this conversation I wanted to bring forward. So I'm going to bring in astrology, human design, and gene keys because they are different energy frameworks for getting a sense of what's at play collectively and why we might feel that more loudly. Now, I always noted what's going on energetically based on how I feel, based on what is happening in my own reality. And oftentimes I will get confirmation from that by then listening or talking with other people, and they're telling me they're going through the same exact thing. But there were certain pieces online that I found that were really confirming for the large shift that is taking place. And honestly, it was so validating for me because it hit me quite hard earlier today and also yesterday. I was like, what is going on? What is happening? Because no matter how clear you are or how grounded you are, when these big energies move through, it can be a lot. And we need context. As we get the context, we find our place again. We get our grounding again, and we can walk through the world doing whatever it is our purpose work is with more of a sense of integrity and embodiment and genuine leadership, right? Not trying to perform like you're some special person, but really just leading your life in a way that feels right and aligned for you. So this week, we're going to start with talking about human design and the gene keys. And in human design, there's, I'm not going to get into the weeds here. There is so much I could say about these three different frameworks, but just briefly for now, there are 64 what they call gates, and there's a different gate or number that transits every week. Probably every 5-ish days or so. And right now, the 42 is transiting. And the 42 is all about what needs to be completed. What do you need to close out? But it's not just about ending a cycle. It's also about your expectations of how you thought it should be, how you thought it was supposed to go. Because sometimes we don't realize that we have these certain expectations that things are going to roll out a certain way, whatever it is that we're building, whatever conversation we have, whatever relationship that we have. And as you may well know, it often turns out very differently than how we expect it to. But if we are attached to our expectations, we often get hurt by our own expectations. And so the 42 ask you to not just close out this cycle, but also detach from it, to let it be what it is. Let it all go. So what's really meant to come through, what's really meant to happen next, can actually do so because you're no longer choking it basically with your expectations. I'm very familiar with the 42. I have it at defined in my own chart in a very specific position. And so it's something that is a big, big theme for me and also for those that I work with. It's on more in more sort of simplistic terms, it's about completion. What do you need to complete? What have you started that you haven't finished yet? So this could be looking at your work in a very strategic kind of way and going like, what am I just circling over and over again? And I just feel always unfinished with it. This week says, let it go. Let go of the way that you thought you needed to complete it and just let it complete in its own natural rhythm. And then choose, allow what's coming next to actually start to move through you. Here's why it can be really difficult to do that, because it sounds really easy, right? Like, oh, just let it go. Just drop it. It's totally fine. It sounds like an easy thing to do, but once you bring emotions into it, it can get very messy. And when we close out cycles, there's a certain level of feeling grief or sadness or even anger, like angry that it didn't go the way that it went, that you wanted it to, or angry at yourself for not completing it sooner. You know, we are meant to just simply feel the feeling and then the feeling passes, but oftentimes we don't. And when we like sit and stew in the feeling, and when we don't complete something or we don't allow a natural cycle to close out, then the feeling that you associate with it stays with you until you feel it. And it's one of the both liberating and also most uncomfortable aspects of, I find, about being human is like, there's so many feelings, but again, emotions figure quite prominently in my design, in my chart. It might not be like that for everybody, but anyway, so this is the number that is, or the energy in the number that's transiting this week. It's asking you, what is it time to close out? What is it time to release your expectations around? Because when you get clear on what that is for you, you're no longer caught in between worlds. Part of the reason we feel caught in between worlds is because we don't allow things to come to their natural close. You know, it's like we can't choose the new, we can't build the new if we're still hooked into an old pattern, an old story, an old expectation, an old imprint that we picked up from our lineage or our culture. It's always operating on the back end. And it's oftentimes connected to where we feel most wounded. Right? It's like it's easier to ignore what the actual wound is or what's going on, what's the underlying dynamic underneath the surface. And this week is saying like, clean that shit up. Like get in there and just like, tend to what's actually driving you to not complete this thing, so you can begin the new in a cleaner energy. So that's the piece from the human design and the Gene Keys perspective. I kind of just blended those together, actually. And from an astrological perspective, okay, we need to talk about this because this is a big, big influence on how we are feeling individually and also collectively. Right now, we are in Aries season, and Aries has a lot of fire in it. It is the first sign of the new astrological year, and the themes that are associated with Aries have to do with initiating something, knowing who you are, and leadership, like taking the lead in your life. Those are the three kind of main themes of Aries as I see and I experience it. And there's sub themes to that, right? Like, do you value yourself enough? Like, where's your self-worth at? Because for people that don't see who they are and don't see the gifts that they're here to bring, they're going to struggle with that identity piece. They're going to struggle with building anything new because they don't see themselves individually or in the context of the larger unfolding that's happening right now. So Aries can bring up a lot of identity issues, again, in terms of how you see yourself and how you see yourself fitting into the larger paradigm shift that's happening right now. So initiation, identity, and leadership, Aries energy. Right now, we've got 7 big planetary bodies in the sign of Aries, or in the energy of Aries. We've got the sun, which is what I just shared about. We've got Mars, which is the planet of action, but it's also the planet of war. Mars is very comfortable in Aries. It likes to be there. It likes to stir things up. It likes to fight. I laugh. That's like probably an uncomfortable laugh because we see a lot of fighting on the collective stage, which is not funny at all. It's really disconcerting, actually. But there's a fiery fight type of energy. And you might even find, even if you don't pay attention to the larger narrative of the things that are unfolding in the world, you might want to pick a fight with yourself or with your loved one, or you might feel a lot of pressure to take action right now. That's Mars in Aries. I understand because I have Mars in Aries, like in my own birth chart at 29 degrees, which is like, I feel that pressure all the time, or like 90% of the time, really, to take action. Mercury is also in Aries right now. Mercury is about communications, about technology. But essentially, that means there's a fiery nature to the way that you're communicating right now. There's just this impulsive, I need to say the thing. I don't care how it lands. It's coming out of my mouth. Watch out for the fire. We also have Saturn in Aries right now. Saturn is structure. Aries is impulsive initiation. It doesn't really care about what other people think. It just wants to go, 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 do the thing, take the action, let's get it going. And Saturn says, hold up, slow down, wait a minute. What structure do you need to put in place to help stabilize whatever it is that you want to initiate? Help stabilize whoever it is you think you are. Help stabilize your leadership. What's the structure that needs to be built first? So Saturn is about boundaries. It's about structure. It's about creating the system that's actually needed for the larger thing, whatever it is that you're doing in your life, to actually be supported in the process of the build. Then we add in Neptune. Neptune is in Aries as well. Neptune is all about the big dream. So you may find yourself being more in touch with the bigger vision for your life, or questioning what that is. What is this bigger vision that I have for my life? Or for the world at large. So Neptune is this big, dreamy, visionary kind of energy. It wants to dissolve all the boundaries, right? Saturn wants to put all the boundaries in place. Neptune wants to dissolve them all. So there's a lot of very push-pull kind of energy at play right now. And then we've got the moon coming up, new moon coming up in Aries also. New moons tend to be about planting seeds. But this new moon says you need to make a decision. What world are you going to live in? Maybe that's what I should retitle this podcast episode to. What world are you going to live in? And yes, there is a larger world context that we exist within, but we're either going to be in reaction to it, in fear of it, or we're going to be actively building the remedy, actively building the antidote, actively building something that is going to be something different that people can actually move into, right? So it's your personal world, and it's also the larger world as a whole. And so the moon is not asking you to plant a seed this month. It's asking you to choose which world are you going to live in, and what are you going to do about it? What are you going to initiate? What are you going to lead with? And claim who you are so you can actually do that. That's the identity piece of Aries. Save I was going to say the best for last, but I don't know if this is the best. It's the most challenging aspect that's in Aries right now, and that's Chiron. So Chiron is known as the wounded healer. And everybody has Chiron in their chart. It's basically the area of your life that you are feeling that you have an ouchy part there. It's your wound. It's like it never fully heals. But Chiron is also the gift because you can teach others. You can help facilitate healing for others around this very thing, wherever Chiron is in your chart. That's Chiron in a nutshell. But Chiron is in Aries this week. So what that translates to is, because Aries is about initiating something, knowing your identity, like who you are. I'm not talking about like a wife or a mother or pronouns or any of like these other constructed roles. I'm talking about like, who are you as a soul? Like, what did your soul come to do on this planet at this time? Like, who is your essence? It's not a label. It's something that you almost can't even articulate, but you are called to embody. It really is an energy. It helps us to unpack the identity, like, with our mind or with our heart. But ultimately, it is an energy that we embody. And so Chiron in Aries this week is asking, basically, who the heck do you think you are? In maybe a more wounded kind of way. We may find old versions of ourselves are coming up in a louder way this week. We may find ourselves questioning if we can even initiate the thing that we want to initiate. We may question our leadership, or not. How can we even think of ourselves as a leader? So Chiron shows us where we doubt. The last podcast episode before this was about doubt, dealing with doubt and how to work with that energy. And now it makes sense because I wasn't aware of all of these factors or all of these planetary bodies in Aries. But now it makes sense that I was called to create the Dealing with Doubt episode a few days ago. And so Chiron is really saying, like, can you really do it? Are you really that person to initiate that thing? And so if you find that coming up for you this week, it's because that's where Chiron is sitting in Aries right now, around initiation, identity, and leadership. So this is a large concentration of energy in Aries. It's very fiery. It's very, I want to burn the whole thing down. I want to start from scratch again. And because of that, we're feeling a stronger pull within our system to make a choice of what are we going to do here? It's kind of the piss or get off the pot kind of moment, or we're existing as if we're caught between worlds and we're waiting for what to happen exactly. We're trying to quickly build this bridge while we're crossing the bridge between the two worlds. But this week is a stop you in your track, go to where the wound is, go to whatever the underlying dynamic is, and clean that energy up and make your choice. Which world are you going to live in? Because every time that we submit to fear, anxiety, doubt, every time that we hold back, not out of an intentional pause, but out of seeing ourselves as incapable of following through in the way that we want to, or giving yet another excuse as to why we can't, what you're doing is anchoring yourself into the old world, which is based on limitation. It's based on you saying that I can't live in alignment with my own truth and my own rhythm. And the new world says, yes, you can. You just need to choose it. And so this intense, amplified energy that we are feeling this week collectively, hopefully it's more chill for you than it is for me. It was so intense. It's been so intense on my end. Hopefully it's a little more mellow for you. But if it's not, and you've been in that white water rapid ride like I have this week, let this be your friendly, spiritual reminder to make your choice on which world you're going to live in. Because we have a real opportunity right now to close something out that's long held us back, to start something new, but to do it in a way that is really aligned with who we are rather than our wounding. And to choose which world we're going to invest our time and our energy and our essence in. So you're no longer moving against decades of patternings, or you're trying to dance around your wounding or pretend that you're not operating from there when you really are. It's going to require you to really be a different version of you that's leading your life. The one who initiates. Who is that version of you? Can you let them lead? And that's what I have for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can always find me on my website, vasmith.com. And I've got all sorts of resources there for you to help you lock in the build of what you're here to do on the planet at this time, and how you can find a deeper alignment with your energy and your identity so you can become the version of you here to lead your calling. Take care, and I'll talk with you again soon.